Now, you're not going to see that on the television news or the mainstream radio news. You're not going to get that.
That's right.
Because that is what is called soft repression channeling.
Yes.
So they channel you into, in fact, I've been reading extensively the church committee reports about intelligence activities inside the United States, as well against U.S. citizens, as well as abroad.
That's right.
And one of the criteria that was used to determine whether or not someone needed to be followed by the FBI was whether or not they believed in independent political parties or if they believed in the two-party system. Now, that tells you something.
That's right.
If you believe in the two-party system, then you're not dissenting.
Right.
It's basically what we can draw from that particular memo. It's very interesting reading. Yes. But we got to read, and we've got to interpret based on our own experiences and not the experiences and the agendas of other people.
That's right. Again, family, just tuning in, having a conversation with former Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney. Well, clearly that class you have discussed and talked about that you're teaching, Leadership for Change, has to be an online class perhaps. And you may have to do in the pop culture in terms of Barnes and Nobles and Borders used to do a dummy's guide for leadership, leadership and change.
Well, you know, that's actually a great idea, and your co-host mentioned the other September 11th, and of course, we're not being told what happened there, and there's great intrigue. But I can tell you one thing: it is not about those two women.
That's right. Yeah,
it's not about those two women.
Right. You're talking about
our government has for quite a while been divided between those people who believe in the Neocon endless war.
That's right.
Of course, the only people who benefit from that are the military contractors, and Israel is a great beneficiary.
Yes, yes.
And then there are those people who say, wait a minute, our military is meant for us. It's meant for the United States. It's meant for the protection of the United States. And depleting our resources on these endless wars for another that really only benefit another country and don't benefit us is not good stewardship of our resources.
Yes.
So now we've got some judges. I mean, not judges. Well, we got judges too, but not generals.
Yes.
We've got some generals who say, let's do this. Let's go about this more strategically. Let's do this differently.
That's right.
And then we have those generals who abide by the Neocon Project for a New American Century dictate of these endless wars, particularly in West Africa. I do not say Middle East.
That's right.
Because it's not Middle East. They call themselves West Africa and West Asia and North Africa.
That's right. Yes.
And that's the way it's geographically described at the UN and all of the. So where does this Middle East come? It comes from Henry Kissinger. I refuse to follow a war criminal, another war criminal.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
So we cannot run away from the fact that Petraeus authored a document
that
said these endless wars are the wrong policy for the United States.
That's right.
The United States is foregoing friendships in the Arab world.
That's right.
And thereby threatening its own interests.
That's right.
Now, he wrote that in a document.
That's right.
And now that's not going to make people happy who want to see the United States go to war against Iran.
That's right.
They're not going to be happy. I was just reading another article about the judge that was, I keep saying judge, the general that was let go. Well, he actually resigned.
Right.
He was the general over I believe, and I can't remember his name.
Right.
And Fox Fallon was his name, and he resigned rather than expand. This was back at the time of the surge, and they, but always the objective has been, war to wage this war against Iran.
That's right.
And he objected to it, and rather than do it, he just left.
That's right. Well,
and so now we're witnessing what appears to be a purge of people.
That's right. Right. It's almost what Zbigniew Brzezinski called, of course, the grand chessboard, where you're moving the pieces around, and those who are not for the policies of the neocons in terms of, again, this full throttle war that Gaza, what we just saw in Gaza may have been a pretext for going into Iran within the next 90 days, as we see ships, of course, being docked, or carriers being docked right in the Gulf of Hormuz, right off of the coast of Iran. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, very frightening stuff. Very frightening stuff. And now we learn that Russia has its warships there.
That's right.
So we've got Russia, we've got, here's the thing that I believe. I believe that the Chinese and the Russians made a grave mistake when they allowed Libya to be taken by NATO.
Yes.
And if you'll recall, General Wesley Clark told us who the neocons intended to
go after.
Regime change.
That's right.
Occupy.
Yes.
Over a period of 5 years. He said 7 countries in 5 years.
That's right. That was the paper entitled The Clean Break.
Somalia.
Right.
And Syria, Iran, Lebanon. These are the countries that we're witnessing stuff going on in now.
That's right.
So Libya was on that list.
Yes, that's
and
right.
And for Russia and China to allow Libya to get taken like that, I almost feel as if, here it is again. It's the black man in the movie, and of course, he's going to be the first one to die.
That's right.
So it's that kind of thing.
Yes.
So they didn't stand up when they could have at the Security Council.
That's right.
They didn't stand up, and they allowed that to take place in Libya. A tremendous loss to to the Pan-Africanist drive.
That's right.
And so now, but in Syria, we've got the confluence of interest between the Chinese and the Russians doing the first ever double veto in the Security Council.
That's right.
And so the NATO forces, U.S. NATO Israel forces will and their Arab allies will not be able to get the no-fly zone and all of that they were able to do over Libya.
That's right.
So now the next thing is the destabilization, which we are watching, and it's bloody.
That's right.
It's bloody.
That's right.
But that is not even the end game.
Yes.
Because the end game is not even, you would think that the end game would be Iran.
Right.
No.
No.
The end game is not Iran.
That's right.
Because we still have cold warriors like Zbigniew Brzezinski calling the shots behind the scenes. And so all of this in the end will benefit Israel, yes.
That's right.
But the big boys are China and Russia.
China and Russia.
So now, if China is not my enemy.
Right.
Russia is not my enemy. Certainly not the Russian people, the Chinese people.
Right.
And so they're going to keep on going and killing people until the people of this country are the only ones.
That's right.
Who can save the rest of the world.
That's right.
We are the only ones who can do that.
Again, family, just tuning in, having a conversation with, again, former Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney. I'm going to come to Brother. You have a question?
Yes.
Yes, sir, please.
Since we're on these two issues, of course, we had mentioned the generals and we're talking about Libya. In my conversations about Libya, I cannot speak of this situation without talking about what happened last February 2011 and mentioning the name Muammar Gaddafi.
That's right.
The man who gave Africa its first satellite, the man who brought 40,000-year-old water out of the Sahara Desert.
That's right.
And the list goes on. We had David Petraeus resigns on his scandal. John Allen, top Afghan commander, implicated on inappropriate communication.
With these same women, too, by the way, with one of them.
Yeah,
yes.
Jill and Natalie Kelly.
We have to understand the honeypot when we see it.
That's right.
That's right. That's right. And the African-American William Ward, who was demoted, lavish travel, unauthorized expenses. But what I'd like to ask you about, Congresswoman, is the firing of General Carter Ham, the head of AFRICOM.
Yes.
And from the reports that I have from Gerard Direct staff, October 28th, Leon Panetta actually announced that they were relieving him or firing him for failure not to assist personnel in Benghazi. Now, this is interesting to bring up because folks, who are here in Baltimore, we're listening to the news and we're watching what's happening in Benghazi and all of this Susan Rice and the attacks from the Republicans on her, and then we're saying, oh, well, let's protect her and all of this. But what we don't understand is, someone like John McCain was right there on the ground in Benghazi with these al-Qaeda affiliated rebels saying, hey, these are freedom fighters. These are people who are here to support. They need our help to overthrow the dictator Gaddafi. But at the same time, today the article comes out, KGO News this morning saying John McCain wants more Patriot missiles on the Turkish border. That's right. To enforce a so-called no-fly zone against Syria, supporting these same rebels that are responsible for killing 4 Americans on 9/11/2012. My question is, how, again, can we get this information out there, and what are your thoughts on General Carter Ham's firing and his willingness to actually, work in the interests of America to help save Americans from being attacked on 9/11?
Well, now, that's a very interesting report. Carter Ham was fired because he said, remember that the young man's father now, and I can't remember his name, Weber, I believe, but I can't remember, is telling everything, and that there was a stand-down order.
That's right, from the Secretary of State. That's right.
And they appealed for help, and 3 times this young man was told to stand down.
That's right.
And so the young man, who eventually is killed, says, forget this, I'm going to help my fellow country people. And so he goes in. Apparently, Carter Ham got the same stand-down order. This is what I've read. Got the same stand-down order and said the same thing as the young man, forget this, I'm going in.
That's right.
But it was, the way the article had it written was 30 seconds later, he was relieved of his command, and the second in charge took over. So it would be insubordination, yes.
That's right.
But if it specifically said because he stood down, clearly, and this is a point that I brought out when I was in Malaysia, I said, well, let's talk about stand-down orders.
Right.
Because if there was a stand-down order in Benghazi,
that's right,
which it appears that there was,
that's right,
then it's not so far-fetched.
That's right.
There could have been a stand-down order on September 11th,
2001.
given by the very same
that's right.
crowd of folk.
Just 11 years later, they did it again. Another stand-down order.
They did it again.